If you're into human performance and motorsport, then you're going to love this episode. Hi everybody, this is Enzo. Welcome to season 3 of the Race Driver Coach Show. This is episode 15 and I'm going to do something a bit different this time. Instead of speaking to you about a certain question that someone's wrote in, I want to show you, give you a bit of a fly on the wall of a sit down we had with the Flow Research Collective. Now that's a group of people that are determined to decode human performance and teach it to the world. Mostly they study the extreme sports world where people really have to be in the flow. In the zone in order to compete in the first place. But they came to us at iZone, at the Performance Centre where we train drivers, for a bit of an experiment. We got in 4 top drivers, junior drivers, and we put them head to head against each other in the simulator, created a pressureful environment with everybody watching them, so it felt kind of similar to them competing at a race weekend. And actually some of the drivers said that was more pressureful than a race weekend, so we created it well. But the main mission was to see a race driver when they're in competition mode and study their vitals. So we put an EEG band on their head so we could see what was going on in their brain with their alpha, their beta states, and just see where their brain is, how it's operating when they're in that mode. If they're overdriving, what's happening there? If they're making mistakes, if they're starting to worry, if they're underdriving. So you can get a kind of pattern of what's going on. Also in their body, we just put one of them bands on that measures their heart rate, their variability, breathing. So we get a picture of how that driver completely reacts and operates when they're in the car. Perfect. So that was the study and we did that for the day. Then afterwards we did a sit down, and this is what you're going to see. A sit down with the 3 people, 3 main heads of the Flow Research Collective. To my left, if you look at the video now, you can see Stephen Kotler. Now he's the executive director, and actually I first heard of him when I read his book. I bought his book, The Rise of Superman, which basically goes into human performance. He's that guy. He's amazing. If you just do a bit of research, you'll see him everywhere on the internet. Next to him is Rian Doris. He's the growth officer. And then next to him is the scientist. And this is the science officer, Conor Murphy. And then next to him is John Pratt, who runs iZone. So I just to give you a quick intro. This is really what we did. We sat down and had a discussion about how their world meets our world. And it's just a bit of a free discussion, and I think you will find it of interest if you're into human performance. So enjoy, let me know, and see you afterwards.
And so we've just run the study here, and the 5 of us are together now, and Conor's going to give us a quick walkthrough of the study design, and then the guys are going to share their thoughts on how they see flow showing up in Formula 1, and share a little bit about the mental game of Formula 1 as well.
Sure. Yes, so historically speaking, the way that we've measured flow has been with a bunch of really coarse-grained psychometric instruments. And so what we're looking at now is layering in a little bit more quantitative data, especially around the physiology. So in this study, we were looking at brain electrical activity, we're looking at eye tracking, we're looking at heart rate and heart rate variability, which is beat-to-beat changes in your heart rate. And all of this speaks to the autonomic nervous system, right? So this is how your body processes stress. So what we're looking at is high performance and correlating this back to your physiology. And so this allows us to go beyond what these really coarse-grained psychometric instruments are doing and layer in a little bit more detail. And so that allows us to approach flow in a quantitative, scientific manner.
Cool. And so what I was struck by, guys, especially on the phone with you, Enzo, the first time we connected, was just how much of the research you guys had kind of intuited, and how much of it you were applying already without necessarily having kind of awareness of the academic field that studies flow science. So.
Yeah, when we set this place up, called iZone, it was called Zone, which we call Zone is the same as you do Flow. That was how we worded it, and we knew from our experience, because we'd been coaching and racing for 15 years before that, and dare I say
25 years
before that. So we'd
Old guys, power up. Oh, you're gonna leave me hanging out here. Fist pump. Fist pump. Old guys.
I think it was 20 years before that now, I'm thinking. So we've experienced the mental state flow, and we knew it was really important because we had skills to drive the car. We knew that. We'd got it down. But when it came down to pressure time, to competition time, you can somehow lose the ability all of a sudden. You can start to trip over and the basics even escape you. It's like, what's all that about? And then through our coaching, we worked at race schools when you're with people, novices to professionals, and teaching them. And you could see that the professionals, they were just comfortable in their environment and able to perform on demand, the really good ones. And coaching race drivers, we spent most of the time not really talking about the skill of how to turn in and brake and go through this certain corner, but really making sure they're in the right mental state to do it. So iZone came along, and that was our initial mission, to unlock that. It became a training centre, but talking to you guys, it's brought us back full circle.
Right.
And the importance of it. And actually, when we look back at how we've been coaching, it's still been all about that. What can we do to remove the performance blockers of all these drivers to help them perform at their best, whatever that skill level is? And that's really been our mission. It's never been different. We never quite brought science into it, measurements as much as you, so this is why this experiment and study has been massively valuable. And I think from now on we're going to continue to bring study and constant studies monthly and give you the data from it.
Fantastic.
Right.
So this is a start of something that's been going for a long time, but really now this is another level up. But yeah,
up until
really
now
important.
it's been more anecdotal, hasn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
this
Right.
is on average, this is what's happening. And now actually being able to follow the data is going to really help our drivers see, actually, because we're so used to in motor racing having data on the performance when you're on track, I think it's going to be really helpful giving them mental data that they can benchmark themselves against. So yeah, it's been very positive.
We've seen things already today.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the great advantages of doing, well, any science, but flow science with racing is there's so much data coming off the cars, coming off the driver, right? So you can start to find patterns that would normally be hidden, you know. So I'm really interested to where this starts to go kind of long term. After we kind of validate the obvious, the stuff we, at least at a folk psychology level, we think is going to be real. Where it's going to go is really intriguing.
And because we have so much data, for our drivers, it's activating their minds all of the time. And they're becoming very judgmental and outcome focused in terms of what they're doing. So it's actually quite a battle.
Yeah, the data may work against the drivers themselves. Yeah,
it does. And so I think this will help them see actually what's going on in terms of when they overlook at the data, they overlook at outcome. So
yeah, when we were interviewing two of the drivers who participated in the study today, they were both saying that in the upper echelons of the sport, the mental game becomes more and more and more important. So as you get better and better, the kind of physical aspect gets taken for granted more and more, that that's locked down and in place, and then the mental component just becomes a greater percentage of your overall edge.
That's so true. F1, IndyCar, DTM, all the top ranks, we've been there, and you can see that all the drivers have got the driving down. It's done. The fitness is more than they need, so then it comes down to the
squishy
psychology.
stuff.
It really is, and the more pressure they've got, they have one mistake and then the media jump on them. Sponsors start to say, do that again, you're out, kind of thing. You get all this kind of buzz, and you see the race team either support you or don't, or turn against you, and it's more politics, which then hurts you in the car.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Because they're
interesting.
thinking they've only got one lap in qualifying, because these tyres only last one lap before they fall off, literally. So you can't do a lap time on lap 2, so it's just now, go. You've got to execute, and they're at them speeds.
and they've got to learn, haven't they, that how they direct pressure. As they become more skillful, that's something that becomes fixed. But then when pressure comes on, can they focus more and more on their process, their skill, rather than becoming broadly focused, start to concern about what you're talking about there, about what other people think about them. And we've got a great quote on the wall from Roger Federer. He says that under pressure, I see things very clear. And that is really where we need to get to with our drivers.
I was talking about this with one of your drivers earlier. We were talking about how the relationship between fear and performance. Fear is wonderful if you can use it because you get focus for free, right? Focus comes for free with fear, with pressure, but not if you're not able to do it. So fear and pressure for 90% of the people in the world are going to knock them out of flow, right? For people who know what they're doing with it and really know how to utilize those aspects, it's going to drive them into flow because they're going to get the focus for free.
Absolutely. No, and sometimes that sort of real intense focus, like that would be Roger Federer on match point. This would be somebody on one lap qualifying in terms of us. And that's a big part for us. Qualifying is so important. You get that one chance and that affects your whole weekend.
What I love about this, is some people may be watching thinking, yeah, but it's simulator, it's a computer game. It's not real, but actually, because of the situation and the environment we created then, I think Dev said, one of our drivers said, this was more pressureful actually than going into the car normally.
Yeah, I was talking to Dev about it. I said, I figured it's this routine. Are you getting bored? He's like, no, not at all. Yeah. Especially on days like today. Yeah.
All the guys in there, probably except one of them, I would have said that they were very much affected by the pressure. Two of them were very negatively affected by the pressure.
So this brings out all the normal traits.
Yeah, and we saw it in the data, right? We saw it in the EEG data. You could really see that. You could see the spikes in high beta, right? They're up in their head, corresponding to suddenly they're on the grass in the simulator, they're off the track.
And that's very interesting what we're saying about being able to have the data to show them, because one of those drivers said, no, in the race run I was driving really well, but actually you were showing me on the feedback that you were getting that he was highly stressed. And so that's quite important. You can then confront the driver over that and actually get to where the truth is on it, because if he thinks that's correct, he's not trying too hard, then you can actually show him.
Right. Yeah. So that gets at what you were talking about earlier about overdriving the car.
Forcing the issue.
I think across the board what we see is athletes overtrain, and this gives us some metrics so that we can show them, hey, here's the data, you're overtraining, and now you need to focus on recovery a little bit more. Right.
And it gives them a tangible reason to not overtrain and recover. Exactly. See that it's doing them damage.
Exactly. And then the mental game suddenly becomes a quantitative game.
A real
we
thing.
have numbers around it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Our overdriving would be the equivalent, in rugby we were talking about earlier, overplaying.
Right.
And that we get two things. We get underdriving, which is what we've been being cautious, don't want to make a mistake. Overdriving is performing above your known skill level, and almost like it's a low intensity state. Actually, it's the sort of trying to cheat time. So we're constantly working between those two things: elements of caution, not making mistakes, and then trying to go above your skill level, which is overdriving.
Well, listen, huge thanks to
Thank you,
iZone.
guys.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you to you.
Thanks to Enzo, thanks to John for
It's been a pleasure.
basically giving us the whole
Really
centre
been a
for the whole day. Pretty generous of both of you. Huge thanks to both of you guys. It was absolutely great, and we'll be making sure to follow up with you too with the white paper as well, which you can share with all the participants as well, because a few of those guys were curious. Right?
We'll keep this going.
What the results were, and then we'll keep it going as well.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Again, I hope you enjoyed it. It's not exactly going to answer certain questions and problems you've got, but it just gives you an insight to what's going on and what we're doing. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.